At 5:30, the final Crystal Rogers trial. Jury selection dominating the day in Bowling Green. But in very clear terms, we also heard these words from the prosecutor in the courtroom. Quote, "We have not located the victim. This is what we call a no-body homicide." That means after years of major FBI searches of properties and farms, the stage is set for this final trial of the decade with no evidence of Crystal Rogers. This is something we've been asking WHAS 11 legal analyst Nick Mudd for the past year. Do you need a body to convict?
And Nick is joining us every night at 5:30 for the next couple of weeks, right until there's a verdict. Nick, thanks so much for being here. And first of all, what's your take so far on jury selection today? It's going longer, obviously, than Steve Lawson's trial, but it may wrap up by the end of the day, which I was kind of surprised by that.
I think they're doing strikes right now, so I think by the end of the night, we don't know what time, but probably later this evening, they will have a jury seated. That being said, one of the things I've noticed is the defense is probing much harder in this trial about prior knowledge coming into the case. They're asking those extra questions, not just have you formed an opinion, but what do you think about when you hear the name Brooks Houck? What do you think about what you've heard? And what have you watched on the news? And they've really probed deep, and that's caused a lot of jurors to be struck.
Well, it sounded like a lot of the jurors knew about the case.
Right.
For the prosecutor to say this, though, this is really the first time we have heard in such direct, clear terms from the prosecutor side, we don't have a body. We don't have any evidence of Crystal Rogers. That has been sort of hanging over this entire case for the past year. You still believe that the conviction can come?
It's possible, but, Shane Young, the prosecutor, asked the jurors one question. He said, we don't have a body. And this is a case that it's going to be based a lot on what's called circumstantial evidence. Us three have discussed that at length. And, a lot of jurors raised their hand and said, look, I can't convict without that. I could never find somebody guilty without that. And so
they did say that.
They did. There were jurors that said that. There were a lot of jurors that were struck because of that. And that goes to a prosecutor is allowed to put on a case and prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt by circumstantial evidence, but it's still very difficult.
And that's pretty interesting too, because in a lot of murder cases, you see the prosecution saying something like that during their opening statement, not when they're trying to go through jury selection.
I think the prosecutor is doing a good job here trying to get out the bad fact that they don't have a body, potentially don't have a murder weapon, or don't have a how regarding the death. And so I assume Shane Young wants to get in front of that and make sure there's no issues come 10 days from now after they do closing arguments and the jury's sitting there making a decision. He doesn't want to look back and say, I should have asked that question.
Brian Butler, the attorney for Brooks Houck, a heavyweight attorney who's got a team of attorneys working with him on this case. He was quick to dismiss jurors who had opinions on this case. And I'm just curious what you think about some of the people who will be called in to testify, including the former Nelson County Sheriff Ed Mattingly. This is the man who named Brooks Houck the chief suspect years ago and then left it at that. And Brooks Houck was able to live around Bardstown for so many years, but named the chief suspect.
Right. And it's going to be interesting how that plays out. It'll be interesting what his testimony he has to offer. Certainly that's brought up with the jury to make sure there's no issues with witnesses, et cetera. But it is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And the fact that we do know, so it appears, he's going to be called as a witness in this case.
Can I ask you a question about the folks that were coming in to watch jury selection? We saw friends and family of Crystal Rogers, again wearing those pink shirts. Did that surprise you at all? Only because in Steve Lawson's case, that his attorney already asked for a new trial based on that being one of the things he said, was not a good thing for the jury to see. Are you surprised that's happening again?
I would say that motion was fuel for the fire.
Yeah, because it got defeated, right?
It was a motion that quickly got denied.
Okay.
And it probably upset the family, to be quite honest.
Sure.
And so I think they had a show of force today. And I mean, that courtroom was full of pink.
So can you're familiar with the attorneys involved in this. How big is the legal team representing Brooks Houck? I mean, there's a lot of money in the Houck family that's supporting this legal representation.
Right. You have Butler and Schroering, who are both Steve Schroering, both top-tier lawyers. They've been doing it for, their combined experience is probably upwards of 50, 60 years. And then Butler, I know, works for a firm, and so he has a whole team with the firm to do sorts of things like research, write motions, could kind of respond on the fly with things he needs. He could text and say, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. And that really gives you a leg up as a lawyer when you have that behind you.
So opening statements tomorrow.
That's the plan. That's what we're expecting.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. Again, Nick will once again be back joining me live on the WHS 11 Plus app. That broadcast airs at 9 o'clock tonight with complete analysis also from Shay McAllister in the courtroom there.